One of the first games that I played when I got my Nintendo Switch was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And let's just say, in the time that it took me to beat this game, I didn't do much of anything else in my free time. The world and story of this game had me hooked more than any other game had. It's crazy to think how I went from someone who had never played a Zelda game to a big Zelda fan in just a few months. I remember just waiting in school, bored, just wanting to play more of this game. The only thing that has made me more excited than hearing that bell go during those few months was when I found out this game was getting a sequel. It is safe to say that I really have not experienced anything like this game. Now that I've made it extremely obvious that this is one of my favorite games, I'd like to talk about why. From the very start of the game, Breath of the Wild lets you free to explore the world and experiment with the mechanics of the game. Exploring the starting area, known as the Great Plateau, is such an amazing start to a game. You are told that you need to find 4 shrines. Other games would put these shrines in whatever area looks the coolest, but Breath of the Wild puts them in places that will teach you different things about the game. For example, one of the shrines is placed in a snowy region, teaching you that to traverse regions like this, you must get warm clothes or cook something that will keep you warm. This introduction to the game also teaches you to explore. When I discovered the bomb shrine, I noticed these ruins, and I thought to go there even though I didn't know that there was a shrine there. I then proceeded to get killed by the guardians around the shrine. In this example, I was rewarded for exploring as I found a shrine, giving me a spirit orb which was 1/4 of the way to a new heart container or stamina vessel. I also found PTSD in this music. The Great Plateau taught me so much about the mechanics of the game that when it was time to leave it, I felt more than ready. Once you leave the Great Plateau, you are all alone. There might be a few NPCs pointing out key locations or giving some hints about gameplay mechanics, but other than that, all NPCs are located in different villages and cities. This makes anything you do in this world, whether it be completing a whole dungeon or just simply catching a horse, no matter what it is, it will feel empowering. You didn't need help from the game to sneak up on that horse, you did it yourself, and you should be proud of that. The game doesn't tell you where everything is, it only tells you where you should go to progress the game, nothing else. So when you find something like a shrine or a Korok seed or even a whole dragon to fight, you will feel excitement because you found something by yourself. The game didn't show you where it was, you found it from exploring. Despite how much there was to explore in this game, I never felt like the rewards for exploring were a waste of my time. Every item and every upgrade felt meaningful, as if I had actually gotten stronger. I always found exploring this world to be very fun. It is a feeling of mystery that I have only felt with 2 other games, one of which being this game's sequel. Whenever I wondered what was around a corner or on top of a mountain, there would almost always be something there. From exploring this world, I have made so many memories, but by far my favorite memory was when I completed the Spring of Wisdom Shrine quest. The quest starts when you talk to this guy in Hateno Village, and he tells you about a dragon on top of Lanayru Mountain. So you climb the mountain and you see this, a dragon corrupted by the malice of Ganon, and it is so menacing. Breath of the Wild often gets shamed because the rewards for exploring are often repetitive, but this dragon is the only one in the game that has been corrupted by Ganon. The other dragons are just roaming around from the very start of the game, so finding this felt very special. And sure, once I had beaten the dragon, I did just get another shrine. But in my opinion, the reward wasn't the shrine, it was the feeling of mystery that I had gotten from the side quest. After leaving the Great Plateau, there are 2 ways to progress the game. Your first option is to go straight to Calamity Ganon, who is the final boss. The second option is to do what you probably should do, and go to Kakariko Village to play the rest of the game. Once you get there, you'll meet Impa, and she'll give you lore, and yes, I will talk about story later. But more importantly, she'll give you 2 quests. One to free the divine beasts, and a second to find the memories of Link's past from 100 years ago. These 2 quests are going to be the 2 things that are going to progress the game forward, however if you don't want to do them, you don't have to. Like I said before, you can fight Ganon at any part of the game, but you probably won't because you want to explore the rest of the game. Even if you decide to try and fight Ganon from the start, you will probably give up because not only do you have to fight Ganon at full HP, but you also must fight the 4 dungeon bosses in a row before fighting Ganon. The dungeons in this game are not as good as past dungeons in other Zelda games, but they definitely are not bad. These dungeons struggle from being way too easy and just feeling like a few puzzles in one area, rather than one big puzzle that connects to other small problems. Like look at the first dungeon of Twilight Princess for example. Your main goal of this dungeon is to get all these monkeys to help you jump over to the boss arena, but at the start of the dungeon you don't know that you have to do this. At the start you are just solving some puzzles with just a few monkeys to get to the mini boss, so when you eventually jump to the boss arena using all the monkeys that you have found in the dungeon, it makes you realize that the dungeon was connected. You don't get this feeling in Breath of the Wild. However, that isn't the main attraction of this game. The attraction of this game is the open world and the 120 shrines. These shrines act as mini dungeons, which makes up for the main dungeons not being as good as other Zelda games. Whilst I don't like how the puzzles in the dungeons and shrines of this game don't feel connected, what I did like was the puzzles themselves. This is due to the puzzles having many different solutions. Many times I would be talking to a friend about this game, and found out there was another way to complete a shrine that I didn't even know about. For example, in this shrine you are supposed to go through this door and get this contraption to start working, but I found a faster way to do this shrine. You can jump into this little area by doing a shield hop and then hit the switch to send you up. You can then run down and hit the switch again and jump when the platform is about to turn so that you don't fall off. Breath of the Wild is full of puzzles like this that can be solved in many different ways. This makes everyone's experience of the game feel different, as not only may you have done things in a different order than I did, but you also would have solved puzzles differently. This is a spoiler warning. Either play the game or skip to this time. I personally think this game's story is pretty good, even though others don't like it. Link is exploring his past from 100 years ago, whilst you as a player are exploring the outcome of everything that happened in Link's memories. It is a great way of presenting the story to the player, as both you and Link don't know what is happening, as Link has lost his memory due to being asleep for 100 years. This way of presenting the story also helps the player not get taken away from what they are currently doing. If the player doesn't want to watch a cutscene when they find a memory, then they can simply skip it and watch it later. People who criticize this game's story say that they can't immerse themselves in the story because many of the major plot points aren't related to what you're doing in the game. However, I never felt this because I was exploring the same world as the one in the cutscenes. It's just that the world I am exploring is destroyed and corrupted. This destruction is seen in the game's open world, as there are many houses and old ruins that are destroyed. There were probably people living in those homes, but they died. This one detail makes Ganon feel much bigger of a threat. Ganon is the one who caused all these tragedies, so he must be powerful. But with tragedy comes hope, and Link is the last bit of hope to save Hyrule. When the king gives you the quest to destroy Ganon, he also tells Link to save Hyrule. You must achieve two things, revenge and restoration. This game doesn't just follow the theme of tragedy, but also two ways that tragedy can be overcome. The first way is to restore what you have lost, and the second and more sinister way is to seek revenge against whatever has caused this tragedy. In this case, that would be Ganon. There actually is a third way of overcoming tragedy that I haven't mentioned. If you get all the memories and then beat the game, then you'll get the secret cutscene. Here, Zelda states that they should go to King Dorephan to offer him comfort. The third way of overcoming tragedy is community. If a group of people are all experiencing the same thing, then together they can overcome that thing. The people of Hyrule are working together to restore Hyrule. Whilst they might not be able to do it by themselves, they know that together they can. People often say that this game didn't have much of a story, but what they don't realize is this game's story isn't just in the cutscenes. The story is integrated into the game's world. There are multiple examples of destroyed ruins and homes across Hyrule. Each one of these ruins and homes serve as a grave for the people who have lost their lives during the calamity. Anyways, enough rambling about the story. Let's talk about combat. Breath of the Wild does not focus on combat very much, and because of this, its combat is just kind of okay. Although, combat isn't the main selling point of most Zelda games, so this isn't too much of an issue. I mean, this is a Nintendo game, not a From Software game. Unlike other Zelda games, Breath of the Wild has a lot of weapon variety. There are 5 different types of weapons: spears, bows, shields, two-handed melee weapons, and one-handed melee weapons. You can also perform side hops and backflips to get what is called a flurry rush. Shields can parry attacks, but I only find this useful against attacks that shoot a beam.
Some weapons can do elemental damage or even explode on contact. This combat system also has a layer of strategy, as things like bomb barrels can be used to your advantage to make certain encounters easier. The reason why this combat system isn't too good is because it is just super easy. The only enemies that I had trouble with on my first time experiencing this game was the Lynels and the Guardians. But now that I know how to fight these enemies, they're just so easy. The reason why combat is so easy is because if you take damage, you can just stop time and eat 30 apples in succession. I wish there was a limit to this, but I guess there's nothing I can do about it. Also, I was told that if I want to make a video about this game, I legally have to show you a specific cutscene, so I'm going to end this video by doing exactly that.